Okay, people, so this is what I just decided to do, just to make this kind of easy. I'll just use the notebook that I used to write everything down in, and we can go over a handful of these so you can see, kind of where the words came from, what they mean, and, like brachypelma, what brachypelma actually means. And if we go, everything's alphabetical, so if we go and we start with brachypelma, it's Greek, which means short. So something that's not long, or of course not tall. So you have brachy, and then you come to page 2 and you find pelma, which is sole of the foot. So what they're saying is that the sole of the foot, or the tarsa of the brachypelma, is a short foot. So if you take those two together and then you go to elbow, which means white. Okay, so you have short foot, white, and then come back to this page again. To pelosum means hair or harried. So if you go by that explanation, you have a short-footed tarantula that's got white hair and is very hairy. So again, I don't know, I don't really pay attention to the hair coloring of the brachypelmas, or albopelosums, but I don't remember any of them actually being white. I think there are some that are like the goldish color, but yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting there, and you can see where I got the neo and then the holothely. Thely's back here. Thely is the teeter nipple, and I wrote quick, just so my writing isn't the greatest, but if I take my time, it actually is pretty nice. And then holo means whole. So you have those. And let's go to like acanthoscuria. So you have acantho, which means thorn. And down here is scuria, which means clownish. So you have a clownish thorn tarantula. I'm not really quite sure where that came from. Again, that would be the people that described them and then came up with the names, how they described them, or maybe where they found them. Maybe the spider was going into threat postures all the time and they found it near a thorny bush. I'm not really quite sure, but that's the only explanation that I could come up with. And I thought that, them throwing up threat postures was kind of clownish. And, back when acanthoscuria was first discovered, probably in the 1800s, that may have been how they decided how to actually describe them. So, I mean, you have all kinds of different thing, like maculata means stained or spotted. Here we'll do Poecilotheria. So where is it? Poecilo means spotted. Okay, so, or Picilo. Picilo means spotted. Theria means beast. So, I mean, that's a pretty good explanation, but they're not really spotted. They're maybe. I mean, they're not really spotted, but that's how they were described. So that's where the name Poecilotheria comes from. As you can see, like versicolor means multicolored. That's pretty standard. Let's go to chromatopelma. Chromato means color in Greek. Okay, which again makes sense. Okay, and then what did pelma mean? Chromatopelma, sole of the foot. And then I thought we had cyaneo means deep blue. And pubescence, which actually makes sense if you think about the word itself. Pubescence means hairy. So that's probably where puberty came from. The origin of puberty was probably, derived from the Latin word pubescence. So, as you go through puberty, you start to grow hair in places that you haven't had hair before. Face, genital area, arms, chest, whatever it may be. So some of that stuff kind of makes sense. So you have all these different definitions of all these different words added together sometimes kind of makes sense. Like salmo means psalm or song. This one I'm not really quite sure. I don't know if payas, Salmo. I don't think payas is on here. So where the payas comes in, I'm not really quite sure. Like poda is also another word for foot or leg in Greek. So I think hetero is on here. Yeah, hetero means different. So the Heteropodra species, which would be the huntsman spiders, right? Means different foot. I'm not really quite sure exactly where that comes from. And some of the words are pretty self-explanatory. Like purpurea means purple. Regalis, of course, means regal or knightly or kingly. Sorry, not knightly, kingly. Rosea means rose-colored. You know, easy stuff to figure out. But it is kind of interesting to, you know, take these words and then now it makes a little bit more sense why they have the names that they do. Lividum, blue or lavender, or sorry, blue or leaden. So like lead, the color of lead in color. Here's a good one, Ceratogyarus. We'll do that one. Ceratogyarus means horn or horned in Greek, and gyrus means circle. So they're saying horn circle, or are they saying circle horn? It's hard to really determine how they do that, but so you put those two together, Ceratogyarus, you have a circle horn. So, you know, again, pretty interesting. Idio means distinct or peculiar. So Idiothelomira, basically, Idiothelomira means distinct or peculiar. Teat or nipple. And mira means, where is mira? Marvelous. So you have a distinct, marvelous nipple. Pretty interesting, huh? Of course, like you see, ornata means ornate. Pes and pus. Okay, so Cereopagopus, and then I'm not sure what PES, what name would use PES, but pes means foot, pus means feet. There's a lot of them that actually mean feet or foot or whole or hairy. There's actually quite a few of them. Ptero, so like Tarantulas. Ptero means wing or feather, not of, wing or feather. But I don't think the rest of it is in here. Kilo, yeah. Lip. So Terano, even though it's just Terran, right? Tero. So I don't have the ino part of it. But Tarantulas, you have lip and feather. So they're saying feather lip. I'm not really quite sure exactly where that comes into. Dolichotheli, so you have long, and then theli again means nipple. So you have long nipple or long teat. Where that comes into play with the Dolichotheli diamantinensis, I'm not really quite sure. But I just found this interesting, and I thought you guys would actually kind of giggle at some of these, really. Cephalus. What am I missing with cephalus? Brachycephalus, right? I'm not sure. There's something that goes with cephalus, and it's not registering with me. Cephalus means head. Chalco, so Phonoplema chalcodes. Chalco means copper or brass. So I'm not sure exactly what the DES stands for with the chalcodes, but they're saying copper or brass, and we call them blonde. So it was the way that they described things back in the day, you know, in 1800s and early 1900s when they, you know, were describing these different tarantula and spiders and everything else. The one I haven't found, which was one I really wanted to find, was pulcripe. It's actually pulchripes is how it's supposed to be pronounced. Pulchripes, or pulchripes. Pulchripes. Yeah, pulchripes. Not pulcripes, not pulchripes. It's pulchripes. I didn't find that, and I'm not really quite sure. But there was, like, here's a good one. Marinus means mouse-like or mouse gray. Where do you get that in Tarantulas? Because most people often, when they think of Tarantulas, they're thinking of that orange spider. But I don't think that's actually the normal color form. I think that's called the red color form. So possibly the original Tarantulas that was discovered was the tannish one, or the, you know, grayish tan one that, you know, they used the Murinus name for. And it makes sense with the Ephibopus murinus because that spider has that abdomen that actually, if you put a tail on it and then two little mouse ears and some whiskers and a nose, it would really resemble the hair and the structure of a mouse. And Ephibopus is on here too. So Ephibo means youthful, And then pus, again, means foot or feet. So youthful feet, mouse-like gray. So imagine, you know, the description back in the day, youthful feet probably means that thing was probably going all over the place like crazy. So they're like, oh, it's got young feet running all over the place and it looks kind of like a mouse. So that's where those names came from. And I'd like to figure out if there's another site that's got more of these explanations than what I found. I didn't go any farther than this one. I thought this was a pretty good start. And I'm not an expert at pronouncing Latin or Greek. And that's another thing too, when you're doing these things, try to remember that it's not a Latin name, okay? Because there's a lot of Greek involved, and there's also some Afrikaans, language in Africa, that is also involved with some of the binomial names, is what you really want to call them, binomial names, instead of actually Latin names, because they're not actually all Latin. So yeah, I hope this was kind of fun for you, something different, and hope to do more things like this in the future. I'm not going to be one that's going to go on in front of the camera and do the pronunciations of these things. Petco does a much better job of that than I do, because he doesn't, you know, I'm used to the English language and, you know, the structure of the English language, and he can say and use the non-English rules for language when he pronounces them. It's much better to listen to him do it than it is anybody, you know, that, yeah, the normal everyday basic keeper here in the United States that just speaks English, or even in the UK that just, you know, uses the English language, even though our rules here in the United States are much different than language rules in the UK. We just kind of took, you know, the English language and brought it over here and just modified it to make it fit for just us, to try and separate ourselves from, you know, the UK. And again, when I say us, I mean basically we're all from somewhere else anyway, except for the Native Americans, right? So yeah, anyway, I thought this would be kind of interesting for you guys to see. I think I went over most of them. I don't think there was anything major ones that I didn't get, like Thrixo's hair again, and Stola. Oh, here's a good one. We'll do that one real quick. The last one we'll do is Grandma Stola. One of the most popular genus, most popular genus in the hobby. Gramo means lined or striped, and Stola means clothing. So if you look at most of the Grammostola species, they have those striation marks or striation patterns on their legs. So that's probably where they got that, you know, striped clothing, smacked it together and made Grammostola. So again, I thought this was kind of interesting and fun, something different, something new. And, you know, my whole goal with the channel so far is to try and get some different odd, you know, educational things going. This was a pretty good thing to get in there. I know people want to see more spiders, and trust me, we'll get there. But this is really tough doing this March Madness thing with, you know, the amount of videos I got to put out, and I can't feed my spiders every day. And, you know, doing tarantula spotlight videos is actually not as easy as everybody thinks it is. It actually takes me a couple hours to do some of the research, write it down, get it in an order that I want to, you know, say it in. And then I have to have a cooperative tarantula to do it with. And a lot of times I've failed at many tarantula spotlight videos because it's kind of hard for me to do a tarantula spotlight video on a tarantula that doesn't want to come out or doesn't want to eat, or, you know, I don't have. I won't do care sheets, or I don't do care sheets, but tarantula spotlight videos, I won't do those on tarantulas I don't own. It just doesn't make any sense for me because I don't have the experience keeping them. You know, you could take like Glaciodora, for instance. Somebody asked me to do it. I think it was Spidey V, asked me to do a Dipacillus sheet, and I don't have one, so I don't have the experience with them. Can I look up where they're from and, you know, get the basics down, because they're not much different than a Kluge or the Paraibana that I have, but I don't want to do, again, I don't want to do a tarantula spotlight on video on a tarantula that I don't own or I haven't had before. But it's so much better to have them here so that I can actually put them on camera so people can see them. Tarantula spotlight videos don't do much good if you're looking at a piece of paper or looking at me talking. It just doesn't really do it for you. So again, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to everybody real soon.